Hello and welcome to this Project in a Box video tour. In this tour we're going to be having a look at the new additions in version 4.1 of Enterprise Edition and Small Team Edition. So a whole range of new changes here. A lot of them are associated with scale, both in terms of data management around projects, storing and setting up appropriate properties and information that can be used for managing data into portfolios, projects into portfolios, and management information reporting, etc. So quick access to the right projects at the right time. And also dealing with lots of projects in terms of creating and deleting and managing those, and also finding the projects you want or the people that you want in the system. There's also some new methods and some extensions to reporting and setup configuration information, etc. So a whole range of things here. Let's not waste any further time and have a look through some of them. Okay, so here we are in the normal startup position of the system. It's got my select project form here for me, and I can see, sort of as I used to previously, some properties information here. Now this has actually changed in terms of different sets of information. So we have what we call a view. Now we've been using the term view for a while in association with task risk and issue and resource management, analyses and reporting, etc. Exactly the same sort of concept brought across here. So you can have some pre-saved definitions of the information set you want to work with. So I'm currently using a view which I think is standard properties. I've got another view here called performance, which I can switch to, and it switches to show me a different set of property information. So previously you could specify into here the properties you wanted to see. You could have one set. If you wanted to change them, you had to go and manually change them, and then you'd have to go and manually remember to change them back again later. So now you can have an unlimited number of different sets that you can flip around between. Administrators can create global management sets, other people can create their own local ones, etc. So we've got very easy movement between these data views. These same views are available for use into reporting. They're available for use in other parts of the system as well, with some clarifications which we'll discuss as we go on. So the whole idea of properties actually has extended a little bit further, in that here we're sort of looking at a mixture of properties which are coming from mainly from the database around task risk issues, etc. We've got some that are coming from what were traditionally the standard built-in properties or extended properties in the system. So let's have a look at that in a little bit further detail. So if I open one of my projects, and we'll go and have a look at the project summary information form. Now this has in itself changed a little bit in layout. We felt for a while that there were a lot of tabs in here that are required by the project manager when they're setting up and managing their project and reporting, etc. And it can get a bit complicated in terms of which ones to use when, how to group them, how to train and get that information across. So what we've done is we've put in some sort of zones for these, or themes for these. So when we first come in here, we're on home, we can see all of the tabs. If we want to go to project and stage properties, it just shows us those tabs, makes that nice and easy to pick up and follow. Go to reporting, we just get the reporting setup ones, etc. So this is a useful thing to have a look at the properties. So what we've got showing here are the appropriate properties in the sort of new way of thinking about this. So we've got a new set of properties called system project properties, and these are things that you define as an organizer that you want to have across every single project in the system. So we used to have an inbuilt set of properties which are status, description, project code, commentary, etc. Often people wanted lots of extra standardized ones, and they were using extended properties from the method template, which meant they had to put the same ones in every method template and then put that out and people would update them. That of course worked absolutely fine, but it was a bit of a pain to manage them all into every single method, and also it wasn't really designed for mass bulk updates for dealing with lots of projects, which we're going to have a look at in a minute. So we can now have our system project properties which you can define. So in this mode we've actually closed away the standard inbuilt ones. They do still exist, status, description, project code, commentary, etc., but they are now hidden away, and I'll show you in a minute where you can do that. so that you're just presented with these ones. Obviously, in exactly the same way as you did before, you can just click in and update them. If they are pick list items, you'll get pick lists. If they're date items, you'll get a date picker. All those other sorts of things that we've seen before. So now these methods here don't have any extended properties. You could put extended properties in if you wanted to, but this is now sort of more how it's meant to be. They would just be ones for particular projects of that type. If you had a construction project, it would put in construction things, IT project, IT things, etc. We also still have project extended properties, which allow you to extend for the particular project you're currently looking at, and again that's likely to be even less used. And we have stage properties, which will be used on projects that support stages, and of course we don't have one of those here. So that tends to make that population a little bit simpler. Of course you can update them one project at a time from here if you would like to, but we've introduced a new form for updating them in grid format, because we've come in across people having hundreds, 200, 300, 400 projects of an identical sort, using the same method template, which need to be updated, that information, monthly or whatever. And so rather than opening each project in turn, we've got a thing here, portfolio system project properties, which shows you a grid of the project properties for this portfolio. This grid works in a spreadsheet type mode, so we can click into these areas. We can type in if we want to, or we can use pick list or other sorts of arrangements if those are available. We can use tabs and cursor keys to move through the list, and that can make it easy to move around the form. You'll see it also pops up some information here about which one you're looking at, because of course as we go over a long list of things we might lose our project name down the left hand side, so we see that in context here. It also shows us down the bottom here exactly which cell we are operating in, and these areas also support the same view changing that we were talking about earlier. So there is a slight difference here. This form is optimized to just use system project properties because we store them in the database. We can return 50 properties for 500 projects very quickly into this form. You can manipulate them, copy and paste in and out of them actually as well, and then save them and update them. If we were using properties from a range of different sources, some from spreadsheets, some from database, etc., then that would become complicated and time consuming to populate such a big form. So this is allowing it to run slickly. So even if you select a view which uses non-system project properties, they will not actually be displayed in this form. They are still retained in the view definition. If you go back and use the view somewhere else, they'll reappear, but in here you only get ones which are associated with the standard project properties. There's a different sort of set of them, and in all of these places we can go and set up new views or edit the ones. We can obviously load them. We can edit the view that we've got here, switching things on and off, changing the order of them, showing rags, etc., inserting new columns, removing columns, doing all those sorts of things. To make these sort of setups a bit easier to do when we're assisting customers in their rollout, we've now got the ability to paste these definitions in. So you can show the XML, which is how the definition is stored. You can copy that, send it out. We can load it into our system, make some changes to it, send you one back, which you can then copy and paste back on, and it will update the entire order and arrangement of that view. And in fact, in many of the configuration areas, we've introduced this now as well, just to slicken up that process of consultation. So this is really quite a useful and powerful form. If you imagine hundreds of projects being updated, you can just nip into here and start to tap in the details, nice and quick and easy, or you can copy and paste it. And in fact, we're going to have a little look at an exercise like that now as part of the bulk creation of projects as well. So I've got a little example here, which is typical. We've got a Windows 8 rollout going on, and we've got a whole load of projects that are being created. Some are up and running already. These ones here, these are the next ones that we're going to start doing. as planned, and so we've got a sort of project code for them, and we might start to fill in some other information for them as we go along. But first thing we want to do is create these projects. So I can create projects with these names using the new bulk create project. So I'm just going to copy the names from the list, come back to my bulk create element, so we come into project, new project, and again we've changed the layout of this form a little bit. You've got, if you're just doing a simple one, of course you type in your project name, you choose your method template, you add your users and your portfolios, etc. if you want to, but there's now a create multiple projects. This, when it's activated, will create this list of project names. Now you can either add them manually one at a time, or you can paste the list in like that. It uses the other tabs here in exactly the same way, so I can come back and say I want all of these to be using this method. I'd like to add particular users to them if I want to, and I'd like them to be put into a particular portfolio. So let's put them all into the Windows 8 rollout and all into the IT projects portfolio as well. So nice and easy to set that up. Simply come back here, press create project, and it's going to go through creating those projects. There we go, all three done from the list. So now when I come back into my project pick list, we'll see we've got our new ones here, our AU ones. So let's go and select one of them. And I'm going to go and have a look now in the system project properties table again, and again those are here now. Now if I've got some other information I've already got set up for them in here, I can simply copy and paste that in. Now to copy and paste in, what we need is the project name associated with the cells and the column name associated with the cells. We don't actually need any other information at all for that. I could, of course, repaste all of these things over the top if I wanted to, or I could, and in fact I think I probably will, I'm just going to grab data like that, copy, come back onto here, and then import export by paste values. There we go, and it's updated the columns that I copied over. They can be in any order, it doesn't matter. Some of these projects can be present, some of them cannot be present. It will update the ones that it finds. So where you've got a successful cross-reference of column name and project name, it will update that data for you. It applies the quality assurance rules though, so if we try to update into our status field something that wasn't in the approved pick list of status items, it wouldn't take it. So you do need to make sure data quality is good, and this is a way of ensuring data quality is good when you're doing a bulk upload of information. So setting up new projects, especially bulk lists of projects, can be great, and this is often the way people will do it. They'll have a prioritised list of projects at the beginning of the year, and they'll go through adding them in bulk. These are the ones we're definitely going to do. We might then do some more in a few months' time. Create them very quickly, load in the key bits of data that you've already got set up for them, and then that is going to be saved and available for you in the summary information form. So when we come back to summary information form, it's here. We can then tap in this individual project if we want to, or we can go back and update them in bulk again. So working with these new system properties gives you a lot of control. Setting them up is something that's done by an administrator. We've got properties here. If we want to, we can, this is normally a sort of viewing type form, but we can enable editing, and we can then come in here and add new ones on the bottom. We don't recommend particularly moving them around. Adding them, pretty straightforward though. We can group them together, give a description, format display options, etc. So if you've got dates and times, you can address how they're going to look, etc. So really quite a powerful feature, puts the control in your hands. Of course, again, as before, if you want to, we can set all these up for you and send you them as an XML definition. So bang, they all appear. We set up all the views for you, etc. So can make that all a little bit easier to do. think of some of the other bulk things. We've talked about creating projects. Of course, in exactly the same way, if we want to, we can delete bulk projects now. So we come to the Manage Projects form. Of course, currently we can select one project and delete it. Now we've got again this enable to, we can unlock the delete multiple projects option. We can then come and pick particular ones that we'd like to delete. So we could, for example, say we want these ones here, and just run through and select a particular set. And then once we have these multiple ones selected, we can then use delete, and it will delete them en masse. So dealing with bulk projects, and I say many people having 500, 600, 700 projects in their system now, you need to be able to handle those sort of bulk activities again. So in the same way, let's come back and have a look at our project picker, and there's a few things around bulk dealing here. Now this portfolio now has probably 10 projects in it, something like that, which is a sensible sort of number. We're loading quite a lot of information for them here, but we can load all that quite quickly as we move backwards and forwards between them. This one's got a few more, but to make sure we keep this nice and quick, we don't want to have to wait a long time when we go to things like all projects or a portfolio which has a lot of projects in it. When I go to all projects, you'll see it's limited my search. It's just given me the first 20 items. The rest of the items are all available, and it's made it really quite clear to me that it has just given me 20. It allows me to keep this search. You might consider it a find rather than a search, but it's a search of the projects in this particular grouping. It keeps all that quick to return to me. Now actually we can then search for particular things that we're after. So if I'm looking for Windows 8 within here, it can go and find me that particular set of things. If I would like to change my search rules, I can do that here. Search options. I can either bypass this for now, so it returns all projects. I can change the search number, because I'm going to really know if I've got a portfolio of 25 projects and 5 are always missed, so I might take that to 30. But I can manage that number to make it something that's day-to-day useful for me. When it comes to search terms, I can of course use exact terms, etc. And if I want to keep this always at unlimited, I can stick a 0 in, which is the overwrite character. So pretty straightforward to use those search overrides. That's how it is for projects. We also have exactly the same thing where we're dealing with users as well. In fact, we saw that briefly when we were creating our new project over here. When I came to the add users, it did exactly the same for me. I've got search options for my user, slightly bigger search options form because this is used in a number of different places. For example, resource allocation forms, where we've got some different things that switch in and out, but basically the same sort of idea. We might sometimes show deleted users and sometimes not, but the same sort of idea. And that will appear in lots of different places. Obviously our manage users form here, so it's going to show us along those lines that we have set up. Okay, so last couple of things to talk about. One is a brand new method that's been introduced, which is the Praxis framework. So this is in here. Let's go and find it. First of a family of methods using the Praxis framework, which is a great new resource available online, which is trying to bring together all the learnings around project portfolio, program portfolio management space, both around the discipline, the skills and technique, the processes, the knowledge, and all the rest of that sort of field, which has traditionally been quite fragmented. You'll have some things in the PM box from APM or PMI, you'll have some things in Prince2 or MSP. They're all sort of different methods and areas. This is trying to bring the learning from all of those into one place, so that if you're familiar with Prince2, you should be reasonably familiar with the processes here, but they'll have built into them the integrated best practice in technique that's available in the APM's PM box. So really quite a useful sort of idea. It's a fully scaled method, able to handle the very smallest projects through to the very largest programs and portfolios. Therefore, we are bringing out some stepped points through that. So this is the simplest lifecycle project we're bringing out first. So it doesn't have the full set of processes that you might use in a very large case, but it's aimed at giving you the documentation that you would use during this point, and actually also some contextual tailoring advice, so that you could go in and add extra things if you want around governance plans for a more complicated project, etc. And it'll have all the extra templates available that you will need there to do that in our template library. What's particularly good about all this is it's got integrated guidance materials, so you can click on the links here and go away and get the guidance that's associated with that particular point in the method. We also provide those links to the guidance in the files themselves. So if you're using a file, you send it to somebody, you will get included with that links to appropriate sets of guidance within the Praxis website. So really quite a useful thing. So it's the first of a number of methods that we'll be providing, and we think this is going to be quite a big thing in the project management world in years to come. The last thing to talk about is extensions to reporting. So let's go and have a look at some of that. In fact, I'm just going to jump back to one of the other portfolios we've been looking at already. So we've got our Windows 8 rollout, and let's take one of our projects there and go and do some reporting on it. Now we're going to have a look here at portfolio reporting, and there's a few changes in both project and portfolio reporting. Actually, they both now have this new project properties area. The portfolio report also now has the include-exclude element for spreadsheets. Particularly useful this when you're setting up dashboards. So rather than manually having to go into the report definition or the XSL of the report and change which particular project spreadsheets are going to be used in your dashboard report, you can instead specify the include or exclude rules here. Much easier and in line with the way we do it in project reports. But the thing we particularly want to have a look at here is the project properties. So it works in exactly the same sort of way as the plan reports element does. We can set up different blocks of data from the available source. Here we're bringing them from our project controls database. Here we're bringing them from the properties sets, and these can be any of the property information. So these can be the wider set of views, not just system properties, but all of the properties that are available. So we can set some of these up here. We've got one here, property grid. This looks like it's using the standard system properties like that. Let's add a new one as well underneath and edit it. And of course I can come in manually adding columns if I want to, or I can load a view into this space from my available list. So let's bring the performance one in as well, and that's got all that nicely set up for me. If I wanted to add some extra columns onto that, I could do that using my add new column option. So got a couple of grids there, and we can go and run our report. And as usual, it's going to go and get that data from the available sources. Okay, so here's our report, and as usual it's got the same sort of things we're used to seeing. We've got our overview, we've got our data from the plans, spreadsheet blocks, and here's our project properties grids. So we've got the standard property grid, and we've got the performance grid. Now these, of course, we could set up orderings on them, we can put RAG statuses on them as we've got on this one, and we've got a lot of flexibility about how we present this sort of data. So we can put in here the blocks that are interesting to people, and often people have come to Project in a Box from previously working on spreadsheet reporting. So what they're familiar with, what the executives are familiar with using, is some sort of simple type tables of information about the projects. What we can do is now go beyond that and say, okay, well that's, you can have those things as well, but by the way, you can also have these more useful analyses with RAG and timelines and all those other sorts of things. So we're sort of helping people move across between them nice and easily. And of course, as I said, the other part of this sort of configuration setup for people is that we can now import-export these entire report setups. So rather than having to set them all up by hand, all these views, what the plan report elements were going to be with all the view definitions within them, which options are switched on and off, which spreadsheets we're using, etc. We can set all those up for you if you want us to, and that's often done as part of setting up methods. So there's a whole sort of standard suite of things now. For some customers, we've been finding ourselves creating their methods from the manual they've already got, creating reports for them that align to the methods and the templates that are there, and setting up the properties approaches for them, and bringing all that together in a set of methods and property information, which we can then paste back on nice and easily by just sending them that information across and pasting it onto the forms, then saving the reports. Nice and easy to do. We're talking here about Small Team Edition and Enterprise Edition, both exactly the same technical product, different pricing models and license models. Obviously Small Team aimed at the smaller end of the market, giving people that normally can't afford a proper project management system the ability to have one. Enterprise Edition for where you've got a large number of users. So I hope you found that useful. We'd be delighted to talk to you further about this and to give you a run through any of these issues that you want. Obviously existing customers can upgrade to 4.1 if their maintenance contract is intact, and new customers implementing will now get version 4.1 as standard. Thank you very much.